welcome, Tony Rollins, to the Rollins to the Ascensive Art of Leverage interview. So tell us a little bit about your background.
My background is that I left school at 15, headed into the local insurance brokerage as an apprentice before I'd even got my exam results, and spent 4 years there learning the kind of basics and the art of insurance, and then moved on to become a Lloyd's broker for a few years, and then on to J.H. Marsh McLennan, who are one of the biggest insurance brokers in the world. And then from there progressed to becoming a board director of various different insurance brokerages, as well as owning other companies and quite a lot of properties over the years, which led to us in 2010 forming Atlantic and Pacific Insurance Group, which has grown over the course of the last 13 years to become quite a reasonable sized venture with a significant amount of clients, ranging from one-man bands to multinational companies. We do some work for the banks. And then also 4 years ago, we bought the insurance brokerage, which I started out as an apprentice at.
Wow.
In the village, which was quite nice. And like I said, I sit as chief exec over several other companies as well, including property, construction, law, tattoo studios. We're looking at doing some work out in, we do some work out in Spain already. And we're looking to expand over there further into Spain and Portugal and possibly into Southern Ireland as well over the next 12 months.
Brilliant. That's going to keep you very busy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I expect so. Yeah, I'm sure in the middle of it, I'll get time for some rest.
So what do you find fascinating? You've obviously been in insurance a long time. So what do you find fascinating about insurance?
The job's changed a lot over the course of the last 28 years that I've been involved. But one thing that remains the same and has remained precious to me, and something that kind of is the core of what we're doing, is helping people. And that's ultimately what we're doing. We provide solutions to problems, and what I've built a career out of is helping people with complex needs and complex insurance needs. At West Pennine, we look after kind of the more vanilla and the easy and the mundane, and kind of your standard travel insurance in your car and your home and your shop and contractors. That's great, and that's good, and that's what that's what makes the world go round. But the thing that that keeps me interested is the more complex risks, where people have had real serious claims, or they've got other issues where they've had previous bankruptcies or criminal convictions. And these people still have a need and a right to carry on business, and in certain cases you're literally helping people keep the business going. And on a monthly basis, we're helping people get insurance and arrange insurance, where if we didn't, that's it. The doors closed, staff are laid off, and it's a horrendous situation. And I think that's the big thing that keeps me going and keeps my passion for the job. And again, the claims is a big part of what we do. We help out a lot of people with claims, not even our own clients. I've just helped out. It was actually a TV presenter. She's an interior designer who's had a nightmare with a property claim that runs into 7 figures, and I've been helping out for 8-9 months, and we've got it settled. There's a big fire that we're dealing with. Again, not clients of ours, but you've got to do what's right. You've got to help people out, and that's how we've grown the business.
Brilliant. So why should people use a broker? There's so many different ways to get insurance online now. I always use a broker, but why should, and I always have done, but why should people use a broker?
And that's a good question. And it rolls into a big part of what we do. The thing is, if you sat there and you're going direct to search for insurance, then you can only cover so much of the market. That's just a matter of fact. Again, for us, we cover the whole of market. So we're out there and we deal with pretty much every insurer out there. And again, the devil's in the detail. I get the fact that people who buy the home insurance and the car insurance and they fit into, they tick all the boxes. You know, if you're kind of 50-year-old, you've never had a claim, you drive a Ford Fiesta, you've 9 years, no claims. That's great. You know, Direct Line out there will absolutely cut their own throat to try and get your business. And you know what? It's not unusual that that ends up being one of the better places for people. But that's all well and good until the computer says no. And when the computer says no and turns around and goes, yeah, but we don't want to do that. Yeah, but you know, it can be over something silly. Like, all right, you are the 50-year-old with the Ford Fiesta and all the no claims. But then one day you've had an accident and there's a problem. Well, say you go on then with your online chat then, and with trying to get hold of a call centre, or see what happens then at renewal when your premium's gone from 300 to all of a sudden 2,000, and they say, oh, we don't want to insure it, or you've developed diabetes, which is fine. My best friend's diabetic and controlled by insulin, and it's no problem. He's got a full license, but there's insurers out there won't do it, and it's all well and good having it and being direct with an insurer until there's a problem, you know, and that's when you find it. And remember, insurance is the biggest intangible in the world. What you actually buy is that you buy a piece of paper, and you don't even get that anymore, do you? You get an email in most cases. It sits there as a PDF, and that's fantastic. But particularly as a business, you know, as a business, if you're a business owner and there's a problem, it can literally, as to go back to the point that I made earlier on, it can shut you down overnight. A claim can finish you. And where are you going to go from that? So if you're going to part with money and you're going to buy this, then you better make sure that actually what you're paying for has got some value when it comes to it, because it's an intangible until the day that you have a claim, until your premise is set on fire, until somebody has a bad accident in your premises, somebody writes one of your wagons off, or your vans, and people can't get to work, or stock can't get delivered. That's fine. And then you go online direct to an insurer, and the insurers, oh, well, you're going to sit on hold, and you're going to speak to one person today and then speak to a different person tomorrow, and then somebody else, and explain yourself 100 times. And there'll be people sat watching now laughing and smiling because we've all been through it.
Yeah.
You know, there's things like with British Gas and with Eon and things like, well, you can't avoid that with Virgin Media for your internet. But with insurance, you can, and you can still pick the phone up and speak to the same person and email the same person and actually get some advice and pay the same, if not less, for going through it. So yeah, you know, we provide an important service.
Okay, well, the way I look at it, why I use a broker is, if I went direct to compare the market or something like that, it's their job to pay me out as little as possible. Whereas when I go through a broker, it's their job to pay me out as much as possible, which is why in simplistic terms, why I use a broker.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and unfortunately, it would be churlish of me to suggest such a thing, but I think the facts speak. You know, insurers are in business to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking out of turn when I say the fact that clearly they're there to make a profit, and if they can pay you as little as possible, then of course they're going to do that. They are obliged by the law, and they are obliged by our regulators to treat everyone fairly. However, as a broker, we are there to make sure that you get the best deal on price, and in the event of a claim, that you get every penny that you deserve and that you're entitled to under the policy. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
You think a lot of people in business and domestic are underinsured?
Yeah, I do. And one of the biggest key driver at the moment for underinsurance is inflation. So, you know, I was on the video call before I was on to my pensions advisor, and he noticed my watch. He made a comment on it with lovely watch, blah, blah, blah. And he was saying about his father has the same watch, and how it had gone up in price probably 150% since he bought it 15 years ago. And you've got kind of natural inflation with that, but when we the reporting this week that we're still at 10.6, 10.2% inflation. Well, on a building alone, you're becoming 10% underinsured year on year just at that. And let's have it right. How many people have actually looked at the sums insured for the building or for their stock very often? And, for somebody who holds stock particularly, it's one of the biggest key drivers before inflation started to be very well publicised as rocketing was the shipping costs. And everybody's blamed off the back end of Brexit, which that's not for me to debate. But certainly following on from Brexit, the cost of bringing a container from China went from, say, £2,000 to £12,000. So just of course. So naturally, overnight, people's stock became underinsured because they'd look and say, well, I have £100,000 worth of stock. And let's say that's insured for 100 grand based on 10 containers at £2,000. So 20% of that is the shipping. But the shipping went up 100% within weeks. So things like that, natural inflation is taken a hit on it. And people do need to be mindful. But then in the middle of it, we're going through tough times. So I do get that people are kind of sat there in business, particularly a little bit going, I'm going to put my insurance premium up. The reality is what everybody should be pushing for, as I do with all my businesses, is that we all want better value, so more coverage for the same, if not less. And it makes my job a lot harder, certainly when my clients are saying to me, and new clients are saying, listen, I'm paying £10,000 for £1 million worth of cover, say, but the reality is, inflation, my stock's probably more like to replace it, 1.2 million. And by the way, I'd like to pay a bit less than I did last year. I understand it. I'm in business myself. I'm the chief exec. I don't just run the insurance brokerages. I run others. And I'm in the real world. I'm not offended by that. And if that's what the client wants, then, it's tough. It's very hard the way the insurance market is, but we always do our best. And, that's what stands us apart.
So what sort of clients do you actually like working with?
I mentioned it earlier on. I love dealing with complexities. I think though sometimes I sit back and I think it's a bit of a poison chalice. And equally, yesterday was an interesting day, whereas we did a lovely kind of it should have been a dead straightforward accountancy firm, albeit one of the directors had a criminal conviction that wasn't quite spent. Everybody else are existing insurers were saying no, but we got that done. That to me is a walk in the park. That was a couple of hours work. To most people, they'd have been sweating and no, we can't do that. That to me is plain and simple. I love that. That was great. And again, helping somebody, keeping going. And then in the afternoon, we picked up the insurance on a large 40,000 square foot unit in city centre Manchester. That's an auction house, which auction houses, again, real complexity, comes with its own problems because it's not necessarily new goods.
Right.
Most people would shy away from that. We love that. And that, I finished the day there with a great sense of we'd achieved, we'd helped, and we'd made a difference. And, we'd paid the bills as well. We put new clients on there and it worked well. So we like the complexities, which that's what keeps me mentally going. But equally, as a business, we certainly don't turn away the plain and the simple and the normal and mundane as well.
What's it most exciting about the next 12 months coming up?
I think for me, I don't know, I must be a masochist, but I think we look at the state of the economy, and my mentality has always been very much within the problem is the solution. And we're facing some interesting times, and I don't like to be. You've got to be pragmatic. The problematic. There's some tough times coming,
yes.
And I think we're there. We're in the thick of it now. But the tough times, the challenging times, you know, it poses a challenge, and we've just got to work harder. We've got to keep reviewing the way that we work, keep reviewing what we're doing, keep looking for the opportunities, the problems. You know, you can sit there and focus on, well, you know, there's going to be clients going bankrupt and into liquidation, and that's going to naturally cause a level of lost business within it. But you know, that's going to happen anyway. That's going to happen. You can't, if you're not moving forward, you know, you're going backwards. It's as simple as that. And I think part of me is slightly excited about kind of the opportunities that's going to come with some of the problems over the course of the next 12 months. And that keeps me mentally sharp. And if you're good at what you do with any business, and you offer something particularly that others don't, and you have a different skill set, then within problems creates opportunities. So yeah, that should be quite interesting in itself.
Okay, if you could recommend any a book or Audible for any business person to listen to or read, what would it be?
It's a good question, and it's one that I've actually been asked before, and I've had discussions about it before. And again, we can all sit here and go, oh, it's this book and Stephen Bartlett and Richard Branson. And you know what? I'd rather be honest. I don't read a lot of books. However, the facts of the matter are, and as we discussed before, I have quite a diverse group of companies, and again, it's another thing that keeps me sharp. What I would say to anybody is that if you're looking at your own business or your own trade, or whether you're looking to go into something new, that knowledge exists. You can either buy it or you can research it and you can learn it. And what I would say is, there's a lot of information on the internet. So rather than sitting there with a book, which isn't for everybody, and I'll be open about that, and I have my own personal challenges, which lead me to be for that to be more of a problem. And I think there's a lot of people out there, whether they're ADHD particularly, or other associated problems, where they struggle with the concentration to sit and read a book, or even to listen to an audio book. I always struggled with ongoing learning. So what I would always say to people is, jump on YouTube, learn a new skill, develop your own skill, find out who's the best in your job, or whose name keeps popping up, and or who's been one of the leaders, or one of the real instigators of change. Sit and watch a video of it. So it won't sit popular with many about the fact they're pushing away from books, because it's not a popular viewpoint, but I don't have time for that, and my brain doesn't work that way. So I'd rather sit there and I'd rather learn something new, and I'd rather spend a bit of time on YouTube, not watching cats fall off things or anything like that, but actually watching something a bit more constructive and trying to learn a little bit.
No, I do that myself when I'm trying to learn something. I find a video on it, and I do watch that. Or if I'm trying to solve a problem on the computer, or for example, I'll use both screens, and I've got one with YouTube playing and what I'm trying to do on the other one. So I think that's great advice. Thank you, Tony Rollins from Atlantic and Pacific, for coming on the Art of Leverage interview. It's been great, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thanks a lot.